Welcome back to the deep dive. Based on the articles you sent over, I'm sensing you're pretty curious about cryptocurrency.
Yeah, it's certainly a hot topic.
It really is. So today, we're doing a deep dive into the world of cryptocurrency.
But before going to the full video, looking to boost your online security and streamline your work? Meet GoLogin, the ultimate tool for managing multiple accounts effortlessly. GoLogin is the best browser for multi-accounting. With GoLogin, you can protect your privacy and handle tasks like digital marketing, data collection, and testing in secure, isolated browser environments. Whether you're working remotely, managing multiple social media profiles, or running ad campaigns, GoLogin has you covered. So why wait? Take control of your online presence and sign up for GoLogin today. Experience seamless browsing with safety and ease. Now, back to the topic.
Think of it like our mission is to kind of cut through all the noise and figure out what cryptocurrency actually is.
Definitely.
We'll explore different types, even touch on how to buy it if you're interested. But the big question we're going to tackle is this something you, the listener, should even consider exploring further?
We'll weigh the pros and cons.
Look at the risks.
Hopefully leave you with a much clearer picture of this revolutionary technology.
Okay, let's dive in. First things first, what is cryptocurrency? I feel like I hear about Bitcoin all the time, but I honestly still don't totally get what it actually is.
You're not alone in that. A lot of people feel that way. Basically, it's a digital form of money secured by cryptography,
Okay.
which basically means it's really, really hard to counterfeit or double spend.
So it's like instead of physical dollars, it's digital tokens that you can't just copy.
Yeah, exactly. Now, most of these cryptocurrencies actually run on something called blockchain technology.
Blockchain. I've heard that term thrown around.
You probably have. Imagine like a giant digital ledger, kind of like a massive spreadsheet that keeps track of every single transaction. But here's the thing. It's not stored in one place. It's spread out across a huge network of computers.
So instead of a bank keeping track of everything, everyone has a copy.
That's a good way to put it, yeah. And that's part of what makes it so secure.
That makes sense.
To change anything, you'd have to hack into thousands of computers at the same time.
Wow.
It's super difficult. And that decentralized aspect is key because no single entity controls it, like a government or a bank.
Interesting. So it's secure, it's independent, but I'm curious if it's decentralized, who even created it in the first place?
That's where it gets even more interesting.
And how many different types of these digital currencies are out there? I feel like I'm only scratching the surface here.
Oh, there are tons, thousands, actually, each with its own quirks and purposes. But we can dive into that a little later.
Okay, sounds good. Let's unpack that a bit more after the break.
Okay, so you were asking about who created it all. Well, the most famous one, Bitcoin, was actually created by this anonymous person or group back in 2008.
Okay.
They used the name Satoshi Nakamoto.
Wait, so we still don't know who the real creator of Bitcoin is?
Nope. Still a mystery.
That's wild. And you said there are other types of cryptocurrency besides Bitcoin, right?
Oh, absolutely. Thousands. Literally.
Wow.
Each one has its own, special features and purposes.
Okay.
Some, like Ethereum, have their own whole blockchain ecosystems, like we talked about,
Right.
designed for very specific uses within that ecosystem.
So it's not just about, like, buying and selling these coins?
No, not at all. Some of them actually represent ownership of real-world assets.
What do you mean?
Like, you know how you mentioned being interested in real estate? There's this thing called security tokens. They can represent ownership of, say, part of a building.
Hold on. So you're telling me I could own a piece of a building just by having a digital token?
Yeah. Think of it like a digital deed.
That's crazy. So how do you even get started with all of this? Like, if I wanted to buy some of this cryptocurrency.
Well, it's not like some shady backroom deal anymore.
Okay, good.
Usually you'd use a cryptocurrency exchange.
What's that?
It's an online platform
Great.
where you can buy or sell different cryptocurrencies at whatever the market price is. Kind of like a stock market, but for crypto.
So I could buy, say, Bitcoin or Ethereum on my phone.
Pretty much, yeah. It's actually pretty easy to get started.
But is it even legal? What about taxes? Does the government even recognize this stuff?
That's a great question, and things are definitely still being figured out.
Okay.
Here in the U.S., cryptocurrency is considered a form of money,
Right.
but the IRS treats it as property for tax purposes.
So like stocks.
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
Which means you could owe taxes on any profits you make from it.
That makes sense. But I got to be honest. I've heard some scary stories about people losing a lot of money with cryptocurrency.
It happens, yeah. It's definitely a riskier investment than something like a savings account.
Right. It just seems so volatile.
It can be, for sure. It's really important to remember it's speculative. Like, remember that article you shared about that guy who lost his life savings because he forgot his digital wallet password?
Oh, yeah, I remember. Tragic.
Exactly. So user error is a big risk here.
So unlike a bank, there's no way to recover your money if you mess up.
In a lot of cases, no. And then there's regulatory uncertainty, too.
Mean.
Well, the laws around crypto are still developing, and those changes can definitely impact the value of your investments.
So it's kind of like the Wild West out there.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you could say that.
Mhm.
And there are risks of scams and hacks, too. Like, we've seen some big cryptocurrency exchanges get hacked.
Really?
Yeah, and users have lost millions.
This all sounds a little overwhelming.
It's not for everyone, that's for sure.
Maybe I'll just stick to my savings account for now.
That's a safe bet. But before you completely write off cryptocurrency, it's important to consider the potential benefits, too.
Okay, what are those? Why are people so drawn to it, even with all these risks?
Well, remember that whole decentralization thing we talked about? That's a huge appeal for a lot of people.
Okay.
It takes power away from the big institutions, puts it back in the hands of individuals.
I could see how that would be attractive.
And because transactions happen directly between people, they can be much faster and cheaper than traditional ways,
Really?
especially for sending money across borders. Think about those hefty wire transfer fees.
Yeah, I hate those.
Cryptocurrency could potentially get rid of those fees entirely.
That's a big plus. But to play devil's advocate here, we do have to acknowledge the downsides too, right?
Absolutely. It's all about balance.
What else should people watch out for?
Well, one thing is the potential for criminal activity.
Oh, right. I've heard about that.
Because it offers a certain level of anonymity, it can be used for things like money laundering.
Makes sense.
And you mentioned you were worried about the environmental impact, right?
Yeah. Mining some cryptocurrencies uses a ton of energy.
It's true. Some, like Bitcoin, require a lot of computer power, which means a lot of energy consumption.
So not exactly eco-friendly then.
It's a legitimate concern. There are more energy-efficient cryptocurrencies out there, but it's a big debate.
And I guess even though the ideal is a decentralized system, a lot of the cryptocurrency is actually held by just a few big players.
Yeah, it's not as egalitarian as it may seem.
Interesting. And of course, there are those wild price swings.
Oh yeah, those are hard to ignore.
Bitcoin's value goes up and down like crazy.
It's definitely a roller coaster. Not for the faint of heart.
It sounds like there's a lot to think about before jumping into cryptocurrency.
Definitely not a get-rich-quick scheme.
Well, thanks for breaking all of this down for me. It's been really informative.
You got it. Glad it was helpful.
Any final thoughts before we wrap things up?
Just remember, the world of cryptocurrency is constantly evolving.
Okay.
Things change so fast. What we talked about today might be totally different in a year or even a few months.
So it's important to stay up to date.
Absolutely. That's what makes it exciting, but also why it's crucial to be informed and ready for change. The big question to ask yourself is, with technology and regulations changing so rapidly, what might the future hold for crypto?
And how will it impact us?
Exactly.
That's a good point.
It's a big question, and it's one that we'll all be grappling with in the years to come.
Well, thanks again for joining me on this deep dive into the world of cryptocurrency.
The pleasure was all mine.
I feel like I've learned so much, and I hope you, the listener, have too.
I hope so too.
And remember, this deep dive was just the beginning.
Yeah.
Keep learning, keep asking questions, keep exploring this fascinating world.
That's the spirit.
Who knows, maybe you'll even decide to take the plunge and try out cryptocurrency yourself.
It's an adventure, that's for sure.
Until next time, happy exploring.
Yeah, it really does feel like we've only just scratched the surface here.
Oh yeah, for sure.
There's so much more to uncover about cryptocurrency.
It's such a fascinating space, and it's constantly evolving too. So what we talked about today could be completely different a year from now, even a few months from now.
It's exciting and a little bit daunting at the same time, right?
It is, but I think that's also what makes it so important to stay curious, keep learning, and, approach it with a critical mind.
Yeah.
This is your financial journey, after all.
That's true.
We've given you some information, but ultimately the decision of whether to explore crypto further is up to you.
Well said. Well, I want to thank you for joining me on this deep dive into the world of cryptocurrency. I feel like I've learned a ton, and I hope our listener has too.
It's been my pleasure.
And to you, listening out there, remember, this deep dive was just the beginning. We encourage you to keep researching, keep asking questions, and keep exploring this fascinating world.
There's so much to discover. Who knows, maybe you'll even decide to, dip your toes into the crypto pool yourself.
Well, what is fine?
Until next time, happy exploring.